A suicide mission on D-Day. Destroy 5 massive 155mm guns atop a 100-foot cliff.
The idea was get up that cliff as fast as you can, find those guns as fast as you can, destroy them all.
With a range of 12 miles, these guns pack the firepower to tear apart the largest invasion fleet ever assembled.
We vowed to one another we were going to complete that objective, whatever, because so many lives depended upon it, and the success of D-Day depended upon it.
The guns at Pointe du Hoc must be destroyed. General Omar Bradley calls taking them out the most dangerous mission of D-Day. But incredibly, when the Rangers fight their way to the top, they get the shock of their lives.
You must understand that we're all volunteers, and we volunteer for what they call the quote-unquote impossible.
The Ranger training is brutal to even be considered for D-Day. A man has to achieve the impossible over and over. First Sergeant Leonard "Bud" Lomell would become the acting commander for the U.S. Army's 2nd Ranger Battalion's D Company.
We had to climb cliffs as high as 200 or 300 feet straight up. No safety rope. The mere thought of that, to some men, they didn't want to go any further. But many of us did it many, many times. And much of our training was with live fire to bring realism to our exercises. In the field, we had to do everything that we were told to do, and some of those things seemed to be impossible, but there are men who will do them, and there are men who won't do them. And the ones that won't, they're gone the next day.
As D-Day gets closer, potential Ranger candidates get fewer.
From those 2,000 men that were already volunteers, supposedly the cream of the crop, we took only 500.
The 155mm guns are part of Hitler's Atlantic Wall, almost 1,700 miles of fortifications from Scandinavia to southern France. The Nazis can't be sure where the expected invasion will come, or when, but if the Allies attack in Normandy, the giant guns will wipe them out.
So for that part of the coast of France, that was indeed a fortress.
1 month before D-Day, Sergeant Bud Lomell and his Rangers get their orders.
And then our training only consisted of studying aerial photographs that the Air Force brought back, showing this point, and we didn't know the name of the point. It wasn't told to us at the time. We just had photographs, and we could see these big concrete emplacements where these big 155mm coastal guns, their barrels sticking out. It's a fortress, underground tunnels and tracks, and bringing in the ammunition, troop quarters, and observation on the point. We could see we had a 100-foot cliff to climb, get the guns out of action as quickly as possible, render them inoperable. And it was explained to us that it was one of the most important missions of D-Day to get those guns out of action before they could shell the ships that were laying 12 miles off, and they had a range of 12 miles.
Finally, on June 6th, 1944, the invasion is launched.
I don't know of any other outfit anywhere that was any better trained for what we were called upon to do than the 2nd Ranger Battalion. We had never been in combat before. We hoped that we would do the right thing in our jobs as leaders and take care of our men. We were concerned, and we were reassuring each other, oh no, you'll be all right. Well, while there, we remembered our vow, and our vow was to die for one another, to make darn sure that if it fell to our purpose, that we were going to destroy those guns no matter what. we're aboard these small landing craft, British landing craft manned by the British Navy, on which about 25 fellas, Rangers, would be on each of these small landing crafts. We had 3 to accompany.
But can they get to land before the giant guns are ready to fire?
It was horrendous. The swells were high, it was rough, it was cold, it was rainy, and we circled about, and it's a couple-hour run from the transport area to the landing area. We went toward the point, and suddenly we realized the coxswain, the British coxswain, was headed for the wrong cliff, not Pointe du Hoc. That meant that they had to then turn right, parallel the cliffs about 300 yards, and go for 3 miles, which was running a gauntlet of fire because you got Germans all along the top of those cliffs firing at you for 3 miles. And then you do a quick left turn to assault the small, narrow beach below these 100-foot cliffs, and you got the Germans up there leveled in on you, firing away at you.
Because of the coxswain's error, Sergeant Lomell and his men are going in without covering fire from the U.S. Navy. Since the Rangers are scheduled to hit Omaha Beach at 6:30 a.m., naval bombardment has ceased at 6:25. This gives the Germans a clear field of fire.
So we had a lot of fire coming at us for 3 miles, however long that takes. A couple of men got injured. The boats got hit regularly. Fortunately, none of the mortars fell in our boats, but they were dropping mortars all around us too. And one of my boats was sunk. It took my company commander, the executive officer, and some of our key men down with it. I only had 2 boats left, Lieutenant Kirshner's and mine. And in the stormy weather, we were soaking wet. The boats were taking waves over the bow. We were up to our knees in water, bailing with the bilge pumps could not get the water out of the boat. So we had to bail with our helmets. It was uncomfortable, it was cold. Some men were seasick, and I suppose apprehensive they'll be hit by shrapnel or rifle fire.
At 7:10 a.m., 40 minutes behind schedule, the 2nd Ranger Battalion offloads under heavy fire.
When the ramps went down, we'd come charging off. The leaders, I was an acting platoon leader, would go straight off the ramp, and our men would go from the right side or left, fan out. In my case, I was the first one wounded. I didn't realize I was wounded at the time. I got this burning sensation through my right side, spun me around.
Sergeant Lomell ignores his bullet wound and presses forward. Then, he's almost killed again.
You know, when they drop bombs, sometimes they miss the cliff edge, and it drops on the beach or in the water. And as I went out the ramp, I went out of sight, over my head in water because of a shell crater there that I didn't see, didn't really think about.
Sergeant Lomell's men pull him out of the water, and rocket-propelled grapnels sink their teeth into the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc.
The idea was get up that cliff as fast as you can, find those guns as fast as you can, destroy them all.
But is their mission doomed because of the time they've lost?
When that coxswain made that mistake going to the wrong point, it cost us precious minutes on our landing at Pointe du Hoc, which enabled the Germans to come out of their underground hideaways to be waiting for us. See, if we were able to hit at 6:30, we would have taken them by surprise. They would have been out. We'd have been up before they got out. But it was the reverse of that. They were waiting for us. Germans were up there cutting the lines. They were rolling boulders over the end. They were dropping grenades on us and machine gunning us. And riflemen from the flanks and the side of the cliff, they had emplacements cemented into the side of the cliff, were shooting at us where they had open range of fire. And they had a field day just picking us off. Sometimes away from the edge of the cliff, maybe the grapnel hook would be maybe 20, 30, 40 feet inland. Well, those guys would cut those cables or ropes that far, and we could not see them from the bottom of the beach looking up. We didn't get a shot at them. But some of our guys would, at the water's edge, with special snipers, special expert marksmen, would be there to pick off those Germans that they could.
It's 100 feet straight up, and even some of the Rangers wonder if they can make it.
Climbing with what weight you have and apprehensive with what fears are confronting you, that it all saps your strength. Well, I think it would, I wouldn't have had any more strength left if it were a nice summer afternoon and no war and I had to climb that cliff. But on D-Day, as I approached the top of to the top where I had to come over, I was only maybe 3 or 4 feet from making it when the guy on the next rope happened to be my radio man with one of those 50-pound, and he says, "Hey, Len, can you help me? My strength's giving out." And I said, "Bob, I can just about make it myself with what little strength I got. I got to stop." And he says, I can't go any further. When we land, we have certain guys in every landing craft, especially powerful men. We call them monkeys. They were fast. They were such powerful men. They go up those ropes just like it was nothing with a BAR on their back. That's a Browning automatic rifle. It has a lot of firepower. The idea is that those special guys get up there and brush back as many Germans, get them back off the edge of the cliff so the rest of us can get up without the firing. Well, they were successful, many of them, but many of them weren't. They got killed themselves. But then again, where that guy was killed, the next guy up would grab his BAR and take over and try their best, because that's the only real firepower we had going up those cliffs, to get that first guy up or the second guy up there to use it to keep the Germans back. And with that, our monkey at that end was built like a gorilla, extremely well-built guy. Leonard Rubin is his name, a very successful lawyer in Chicago. He reached over the cliff top and grabbed Bob by the back of the neck and said, "Help me. They say you have super strength in matters of emergency." And all I remember seeing, holding over for dear life with what little strength I had left, was Bob flying over my head with his fit, and all I'm worried about is his antenna flopping around, that might attract fire. And Reuben has got him rolling over the top and running off. He was the BAR man, running off to continue with his job. Things happen. Somehow, I don't know, I think Bob would have made it. I made it. I think he would have made it. But when he called me to help him, I couldn't. I really couldn't. If I'd have let go, I'd have gone down. So you do reach a point where you don't think you can go much further, but well, there's superhuman efforts that come to pass when you're confronted with that situation.
225 Rangers assault the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc. 180 get to the top.
Lucky, I'll say.
But where are the guns?
Well, the place was decimated. You could look across that point and it looked like the face of the moon with all the thousands of holes and craters and the like. The emplacements, concrete, several feet thick with steel rods in it. It was blown to kingdom come. But there were no guns. There were telephone poles or timbers or whatever they had sticking out of some of the emplacements. But you could see the guns had never been there. You know, when you've gone through that and gotten to your position where you're about to think about destroying them, and it's not there, it's disappointing, but we were trained, you'll come face to face with many disappointments, but you've got to have a good common sense and brains to figure things out quick and move accordingly and accomplish the objective.
Sergeant Lomell suspects that because of Allied bombs dropped near Pointe du Hoc, the Nazis have moved the giant guns inland. The 155s must be hidden from aerial bombardment, yet still close enough to the beaches to rain down death on ships and soldiers.
Artillery outfits have alternate positions, so they must have an alternate position. So we went looking for evidence of where that could possibly be. It couldn't be very far away. You look across that landscape, 40 acres, flat, nothing but shell craters and blown to kingdom come. It had to be inland, so we looked inland, we saw trees and what looked like a rural setting, and there was only one road out of the point. There were minefields on each side, and I figured there's men there, they come and go, so they must come and go that road too. So they had a machine gun covering it, and they had another emplacement covering a billet nearby where they slept above ground. So we had to take them out. We neutralized that machine gun nest, killed them and sent them running for cover, and we got through that. We came upon this sunken road between two hedgerows. Now, that's another thing. We didn't know much about hedgerows. It just seemed, really, it was a frightening sight. We didn't, you know, an American boy looks at a hedgerow just maybe 3 feet high, or very seldom are they much more. These were like 15 feet high with trees growing out, like 30, 40 feet in the air. You could have hit a column of tanks in this hedgerow and never have seen them from this coast road. So we saw where that, going from the blacktop into that sunken farm road between pastures, something heavy or something had cut up the dirt.
Lomell and Acting Sergeant Jack Kuhn investigate.
So we have a pattern of patrolling called leapfrogging. I stand here or hide or make myself invisible, try to stop breathing so no German can hear us, that kind of thing. And Jack will run up 10, 15, 20 yards, hoping he can get to that spot where he wants to be to make his observation. I cover him while he does so. Then I go by him another 30 yards. He covers me, and we're leapfrogging, protecting one another, going inland. A German combat patrol of about 50 men, heavily armed, was coming and went by us within 20 feet of us, and we were hidden in a ditch. We had gone inland about 100 yards, and it just so happened on my leap around him to the hedgerow, I looked over, and there before me was an apple orchard, and there were the guns all set up, textbook ready to be fired, pointed at Utah Beach.
With tens of thousands of American infantry and airborne troops in range of the guns.
They could have tore up all the beaches with the men swarming over them, and they would have just blown that beach to kingdom come.
The guns have to be destroyed immediately. But then, Lomell and Kuhn realize they're not alone.
We saw about 75 to 80 men, I guess it was, 100 yards away.
It's the artillery unit. But, as it turns out, the two sergeants finally have a bit of luck.
They couldn't get fire orders from their point, their observation point, because E Company is killing them out there on the point.
Can Sergeants Lomell and Kuhn destroy the big guns without being seen?
I said, Jack, hop up there and cover me. I'm going in and do the best I can with a thermite grenade. Now, we were given thermite grenades. They're about the size of a beer can. And when you know how when you open a beer can, the sound of that sound, that's all you hear. But the composition that's in there, the incendiary compounds or whatever they are, when air hits it, it becomes molten metal and it runs out. So you lay it in the gears. Anything among the gears or in the hinges where this molten metal can flow, and it just locked everything and made it inoperable. I've read so many books about how we were supposed to have thrown grenades down the boat. We couldn't even reach the top of the barrel, they're so high. I'd had to gone out in the middle and make myself exposed to everybody and get on Jack's shoulders to throw things down. We didn't do anything like that. So anyway, it did the two guns, put them out of action, rendered them inoperable, took my field jacket off, wrapped it around the butt of my submachine gun, and smashed as best I could the gun sights of all 5 guns.
After a daring dash back to the platoon for more thermite, all 5 giant guns are put out of action.
Lucky for us, we found the targets and destroyed them.
But D-Day isn't over for Sergeant Lomell.
We managed to gather together 85 guys to set up a perimeter near the guns to defend the area for that night. And we did that, and we were counterattacked 3 times the night of D-Day in the early morning by over 300 Germans. And we had a lot of casualties, but we had many more German casualties there. And finally, we fought them off. And after the 3rd attack, they never came back to attack us again. And then dawn broke on D+1. Well, I agree with General Omar Bradley that it was the most dangerous mission of D-Day. I really can't answer that question. I don't know all the other missions of D-Day. I just heard him said it, I accept it. I never gave it, and we didn't give it any thought whether it was the most dangerous. And I just tell you, the Rangers are confident. I don't say conceited, I say confident men. They do what they do, and they do it well, and I'm proud to say, and we think we do as well as anybody, if not better than anybody. In other words, we were proud of our unit, and proud of what we did, and we worked real hard to be the best. And we thought we were the best of the best. Now, you can call that conceited if you want, but we were ready to take on all comers. Somebody's got to be the best. It's like a Super Bowl team. There's got to be a Super Bowl champion sooner or later, right? We think we're the Super Bowl champs of World War II as far as Special Forces.